Welcome to our channel. My name is Matt.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are with Handcrafted Movement, and this is our first official video.
We're sitting in our own, very special tiny house that's on our property. We created this tiny house to be an Airbnb and also a guest space. And we're super stoked to just tell you guys about the process and show how we built it and a lot of the cool details about it and just the heart of why we built it.
So I started about 6 years ago building tiny houses on trailers, and with my very first one I intended to do Airbnb, but decided to sell it instead, and since then have built a ton more tiny houses and sold them. So it's been a long time coming, but we decided to go for it, and so this spring we designed this one from scratch and created it with our own two hands and with our crew of craftsmen. We definitely couldn't do it without them. They are the guys that make it happen.
This project was super fun to put both of our skills together, of Matt obviously doing majority or all the building, but for me to step in with the interior design and as well as a lot of the staging for Airbnb, and just making it more functional and a lot more personable too. And so it's been really cool that we've had over 14 people stay in this Airbnb so far, and we've had great reviews. Yeah, we'd love for you guys to stay in it and just to see more of the build process in this video.
Day one of the build. It's always a momentous occasion to go pick up the trailer. My favorite trailers by far from Iron Eagle Trailers in Portland, Oregon. Go see Rob, tell him Matt sent you. This particular trailer is a 30-foot long, 8.5 feet wide, triple axle. It's a beast, to say. First step is getting it all leveled out, building the floor, and then we put the walls on. We like to fill our floors with lots of insulation. And as far as the walls, those are kind of informed by the layout of the house. For this particular house, being that it's an Airbnb, we really wanted to gear the layout to work with that and just be really open and spacious, with lots of windows, with some big French doors and a big deck out front. So that kind of informed this layout that we're working on here. I believe this is day 2 of the build, where we built all the walls and put them on the trailer. So that's a 31-foot wall. We build it as one section, and then we have to cut them apart to lift them on the trailer because they're quite heavy. And then we secure them back together once they're on the trailer.
This is one of my favorite parts of the build because just within 1 or 2 days, we build the floor and the walls and put them up. And the guys are very talented at getting such heavy wall panels up without using any mechanisms or cranes. I always think it's pretty impressive, and I've tried to help, and it's pretty heavy. I do have to say.
I like to call it a free workout, or a workout that you get paid to do. So it's the best of both worlds. You're being productive and creating things, and you're growing some muscles. And that is how it's done. So after walls, we make our own trusses, we install those, and then it's time for windows and sheeting. That's always a fun part of the build, seeing it take shape.
Here Matt is sketching out on one of our windows the layout for the kitchen cabinets. We always adjust them kind of right up until we install them. Our French doors are coming in and installed. They ended up looking beautiful with lots of natural light. We were super happy with how they turned out.
Here we're mocking up the exterior awning.
And now we go into paint. We always use Sherwin-Williams. We love them, they love us. We also picked a few different accent tiles. We ended up not going with those, but Portland has a big selection.
I love paint, I'll admit it. I love choosing all the different colors, all the different samples, obsessing over them a little bit too much, and then at some point you gotta just decide. So sometimes you make your own color. But on this particular house, we went with a color called Slate Tile for the bottom half and a color called Snowbound for the upper half. Hi, Kevin. We went with a matte black metal roof, and it turned out great. Here's the wide plank oak hardwood. We install this fairly early in the build, and then we protect it really well. We just find that you end up with a much better finished product this way.
We love that rain board.
Now fitting out the interior details, Paul's installing beams.
I'm no linebacker, but this vanity was freaking heavy with a quartz top, and it came with 2 different sets of handles in silver and gold. We ended up going to the gold ones because we wanted it beachy and coastal. Super stoked with how that vanity turned out.
This is step one of building that massive 10.5-foot tall fireplace. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we just started cutting plywood.
Here we got some trim pieces that Matt is cutting. We make all of our interior doors ourselves, so they are custom.
And Kevin loves to work with metal.
He loves them.
Let it be known.
And I love to work with food.
First meal, eating up in the loft here, having some teriyaki chicken. That was a good day.
Again, paint never stops. We're picking accent colors for the interior, for the door that you see here, and I'm excited for the color that we ended up going with.
And Kevin, he's playing with metal again. Look at that guy. Ben in the shower head, so we got a little bit more head height in the shower.
And it's not work day without a work lunch, so we give ourselves some room to play.
We went with a white ceramic tile in the shower and for the backsplashes.
Here we're getting ready to paint. We're masking off all of our windows and tile and cabinets, and it's just about ready for that paint.
And I usually spray the interiors myself. It's always a little bit of a messy, dusty job, but it's so gratifying to pull the plastics when it's all done. It's all fresh and clean, a blank slate for the final stretch of the build. I use about 6 gallons of primer and a full 6 gallons of paint, so it's quite thick, but I just find it gives it a really quality finish. For the refrigerator in this house, we decided to make our own custom panels, paint them with a fun color, and found some really cool brass handles online. Here we're pulling up the protective cardboard to reveal the floor. That's always a really cool moment in the build. I went down to Portland and hand-picked out some oak slabs for the tables, the bench, the shelves, that sort of thing. Here Kevin is planing some walnut that would go and be an accent piece on the headboard in the master bedroom. The master bedroom headboard main piece was made out of a piece of reclaimed material.
Here Matt is pre-drilling some holes to put some mortar and glue in for the thin brick that we did on this fireplace. This was a kind of innovative idea that we had. I really wanted to use real brick instead of just brick fake sheeting, so it ended up looking amazing. It was a lot of work though. We had to cut almost every brick with a wet saw, and it took us 2 days with Matt and I, but it turned out really, really good.
And the brick came from the factory, kind of a muted gray color, and we thought it would look good with the rest of the house. We sat on it for a while once it was done, and it wasn't quite looking right with us. We tried to whitewash it out, and that wasn't really working either, so we actually ended up just painting it all white.
I have to say I'm super happy with how the brick turned out, especially this little mantle as well. Matt got this reclaimed piece of wood that was a beefy boy, but I wanted a mantle and Matt made it work.
Installed. Drilling out for the kitchen faucet and installing that refrigerator.
I have to say I was a stickler of wanting gold hardware, which ended up looking amazing.
Gold everything.
Gold everything, everywhere.
So here the house is all packed up with blue tape, ready for transport from the warehouse to the property. This is always a cool moment to pull this house out into the sunshine. You pull the raw trailer in, and then a few weeks later you get to pull out a finished house, and it's always cool to see the colors and just see how it looks in the natural light.
Here we are bringing the tiny house on our property, and we have gotten some of the space ready, and we were still, as we were bringing it in, finishing out some last minute adjustments and modifications that we needed to do to prep the site. And we put the tiny house right there. That beautiful little grass patch right there.
So we had to cut a few trees and trim back some bushes to make it all work, and we rented a wood chipper and chipped it all up, and were able to use the wood chips underneath the house. We built a really big cedar deck at the warehouse, and then we trucked it up to the space and installed it, and that worked really well. And we got our hands on a little drone, and these are some of the first shots that we ever took with it. We don't quite know what we're doing, but it was really fun anyway to play with it. And I've intentionally let the perimeter of this space grow a little bit wild, just to enhance the privacy from our own home, from the neighbors, all that. So it's a little bit tight pulling in the driveway here. I anticipated it being a real challenge to get the tiny house into the space, but it actually only took a matter of minutes and it went super smooth, and so that was really gratifying. And here we are making modifications to the cedar awning detail. This piece I tried to build as light as possible, design it and build it as light as possible, but it ended up being a little bit of a beast.
It's a backbreaker, as you can see.
But once we got it up into place and got it secured, it looked really great.
We love the space that it ended up in because it is a little private oasis for our guest and also just a good private entry from our own home as well. So it does feel like it fits perfectly with the tiny house, and even the French doors with all that lighting most of the day, it gets a lot of natural light.
Hence the name Handcrafted Hideaway.
The finishing touches of the installation was lighting, a little bit of landscaping, putting in those bark chips, and of course taking some photos. You can see these photos on our Airbnb listing. We will link the list below, and we hope that you can come and stay with us at Handcrafted Hideaway. It is ready to go, it is beautiful, and we would love for you to stay in it. Thanks so much for watching this video. We hope that you really enjoyed seeing our tiny house. You can find more on the links below, as well as following us on social media at Handcrafted Movement. Our Airbnb is called Handcrafted Hideaway, and we'd love to host you, and we'd love for you to stay on our property.
Stay tuned for more. Like, comment, subscribe below.
Look.
Click the like button there, here, the notification bell.
Here, right here, logo. God bless.